I think what happens, and in my experience, and this is what certainly happened with surfing and a lot of the things, it's going through its shortboard revolution right now. And so a lot of guys are making little boards, and the smaller they get, the more stress that's put on the design to be perfect. I mean, the rocker can't be wrong. The template, the rails, the amount of thickness and the flow, the more compact you make it. And so, as a company, we don't want to put something into production till we really make sure that the design is as good as it possibly can be. But for sure, I mean, we're going to see how short's too short, because I'm seeing boards that personally I think are too short. But as soon as we find out what the perfect length is, for riding waves and for, how short, then we're definitely putting it into production. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know. I think it's certainly on a growth curve, and I think it's fun. I think it's easy, in terms of starting with a big enough board. A lot of it depends on like education and schools and people willing to teach it, because here in Hawaii, because it's been here for a long time and has its roots and its history, that's one thing. But when you take something to Europe and to Middle America, who's gonna have the boards, and who's gonna teach the sport and get people enthused about it? Because we can only do so much, whether it's on the internet or whether it's in magazines. You need schools, and that's what we've seen, whether it's windsurfing or kiteboarding, or look at the growth that we've seen in surfing. And a lot of it has been driven by schools, and how many schools and good instructors. And so that's part of what we're working on in terms of the demo fleets, and going out and teaching people and making an instructional video, and really seeing that people have a great experience their first time, instead of, kaboom, kaboom, falling in the water. Because that's what we saw with windsurfing. You'd see some guy out there, falling this way and falling that way, and he had a bad experience, and then anybody that was watching him was going, I'm never doing that, And so with stand-up, you get the right board. That's the reason the first board we put into real production with Laird was the 12-1 Laird, 31 inches wide. And at the time that we put that board into production, like a lot of other people, especially guys that were hand-making boards, were going, how come they're making such a big boat? Why such a big board? Well, it's because we wanted to get people into the sport and have a good experience.
Right.
I think it remains to be seen for sure. You're still on the water, and what we take for granted is as surfers, and certainly here in Hawaii, water. We're comfortable with water. We're raised in the water. My kids learned to be swimming when they were babies. When you start getting out of these environments, you get the whole issue of, does this person know how to swim?
Right.
Or how safe do they feel, or are they afraid? Because a person can sit down in a kayak, and kayaking's grown into a big sport all over the world. But they're sitting into a boat, and they have a certain security, like, I'm not going to be in the water and having to swim and potentially, being in a dangerous situation. When you're standing on a board, it's incredible. It's like I'm walking on water, but you're vulnerable to knowing that one wrong move, you can be in the water. Mm-hmm. And so, this is something that I look at and go, how's that going to impact once it gets out there? Because things that we take for granted, is people that have not been around water. But I still believe that it has, huge potential as a water sport.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to add?
Aloha.
Okay, thanks a lot.